Chance of flare. Chance of flare. Chance of flare. China is asshole. Chance of flare. Chance of flare. We're getting kicked out of life at the Jew at a chance of flare. For hate speech. You gotta ban us for hate speech. Oh no, here comes the door. You gotta ban us for hate speech. You gotta ban us for hate speech. Chance of flare. Chance of flare. Chance of flare. Please don't. Chance of flare. Chance of flare. They got the chance of flare. They got the chance of flare. Chance of flare. Chance of flare.
Alright, everybody. Well, here we are.
Friday.
Happy Fridays, everybody. Well, I was excited for today, especially of all Fridays. I was very excited for this Friday.
Me too.
And
We had Rob Carbone interview all lined up, you know.
I had a feeling.
He's supposed to come out.
I had a feeling this was going to happen.
Turns out he's got some personal issues, health issues, I guess.
Yeah.
Stuff going on, so.
Well, I'd like to mention
That's
that
the
he...
phone.
What did he say to you? What did he say about Rebel News?
Oh, he said, you know, Rebel News has also contacted him for an interview, and, you know, he told them, you guys are going to have to wait, because I've promised the boys at the Chance Fleury show that they're getting me first. So,
Yeah.
he's still coming. We got him planned now for Sunday, Sunday evening, so you're going to want to join us then.
Hear that, Rebel News? You're fucking trash. You're trash. We're here.
Carbon.
This is our fucking, this is our world. This is our country.
fuck.
This is Chance of Fleury country.
Rebel. Nobody's going to know anything about Rebel in a couple of years. It's going to be all flurries.
That's
We're going
right.
to cover him in fucking snow. Bury him in snow.
Yeah. I'll say this, though. He canceled twice today, didn't he? Like, he started and then, now
Well,
I
there was
hope
a
everything's going...
misunderstanding on my part about that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
So, I hope everything's going good. I'm serious about that. Rob, I hope everything's doing very good on your end. I hope whatever it is that happened that made you can't come here, I hope all goes well. And we'll see you Sunday.
It must have been for something pretty serious, because I know he was very excited to come on the show. So
It's unfortunate because, you know, Chris Sky came here. And it would have been fun to have his opinion and then go see Chris Sky because he's coming down our neck of the woods tomorrow.
it's tomorrow, yeah.
So we'll see. But whatever. Things happen. Whatever. That's fine.
We'll do it after. It'll be
Chris
on
Sky
Sunday
did that
or-
the first time. We gave him some slack.
And in fact, Chris Sky never actually reached out. He apologized afterwards,
and this
but
is
he
fine.
never reached out beforehand.
Yeah.
Rob Carbone postponed. He let me know what was going on. So.
All right. So Rob, there you go.
But it seems the father, father son, they don't want to. They have the same kind of act. You know.
I
The
guess
first
so. That's
interview,
right. It runs in the.
can't show up to that one.
Yeah.
You
It's
gotta
weird
prime
how.
'em. You give them the
it's-
first interview, and then you say, yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah.
We'll do the second one,
Yeah.
and then you do that one.
That's right.
And that's kind of how it rolls.
So whatever. That's how it works. So we figured, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go here, come here, and just say that? No, other shit came up. Well, first of all, this first thing came up. Well, Chris Sky sent us that email that proves that he was invited to the Canada Day thing.
That's
And,
right. Yeah.
I looked through it, and what I didn't like, what I found weird was this no reply thing. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can find it on my end here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of the same reason that, when he went on Rebel Media, he said, like, he forwarded it to them as well, Now, we know we're a little bit bigger than Rebel at this point, but,
yeah, way bigger.
when he was on, the Shrimp, Rebel,
Yeah.
David Menzies apparently also had a copy of the email, and he also said he couldn't really authenticate it. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking. Oh, this is the one. I'm just gonna do this. Here. So yeah, actually, let's just go.
So now the email is from is to a Kellyanne Wolf, right?
Kellyanne Wolf, and there was. Let me go on Chris Sky's account. Go to me. Oh, there it is. If you can't see, let me see if I can. The main screen. There's a better photo, but if you remember, it's the from is simply at NML Canada. I'll find a better one. But that's what it says. No. Let's go to media. Because it's just the one point. There's a lot of weird, just a lot of things. But this is just the main one that I found. That was strange. Although it's going to be hard to find. But if y'all remember the start of the email. And if I brought it up. So, I mean, if you look very closely, you'll be able to see. But yeah. It starts with just NML, at NML Canada. And here I actually found the no reply, and that's what we have here, right? No reply at NML, but they don't have the no reply before the at, so that's one discrepancy. But then I also tried sending an email to that email, and it gave me this automated message. Mail delivery system. This message was mailed automatically. A message that you sent could not be delivered to one or more recipients. Tells me
That's not very surprising, right? Because it's a no reply email.
It's a no reply, yeah.
The strange thing is that the email that Chris sends appears to be like a response to something.
Yeah.
Right? Because it says, Kelly, yes, Chris can speak, right? So it's just a little interesting that it seems like it's a reply from a no reply.
Yeah. So my question would be, what would be the initial interaction? Did you send an email somewhere and then you got this back, or I'm assuming what the answer would be was, I called someone and then they emailed me with this. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. Like usually, I mean, it's either like it's really disorganized, but now I'm having trouble.
And then there was also the text with Kelly, who is this same woman, telling her that Chris wasn't invited. Something we did discuss is there's always the possibility that this was all orchestrated by Chris's team. That they faked the email. And that Chris has no knowledge of it.
It's possible that
Chris thinks the email is legitimate. That's always possible.
Yeah.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt where I can.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the email is still a little fishy.
Yeah, it's still fishy. I don't see that as proof. And now I understand Dave Menzies a little more. If he just kind of showed it
saying
like
like,
this,
well,
it's a little.
yeah,
I can't
it's not
substantiate it.
really evidence of much.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see. I've never seen a one-sided just response from a no reply answering a question.
Yeah,
I've
well,
never seen that happen.
unless you're putting a question
Well, yeah.
into like let's say you go to their
Yes,
website
actually,
and there's
I'll
like a
take that back.
question box,
Yeah.
and you put it in the question box on the website, you might get a reply from a no reply in that case.
Yep.
But I don't think that's how Kellyanne would have gone through like trying to get Chris on.
Yeah.
Like they
And
just
also
went on the website and went like, "Hey, can Chris speak?"
yeah. And we know for a fact that there was an itinerary where like people were set to speak, they were like 5 minutes apart and stuff like this. So it feels strange. Like the only response from a no reply, don't answer back. Yes, he can speak. No specific time. I don't know. It just looks weird. Just seems
Yeah.
weird. So that's I mean, so we got, and there's nothing
That's just our
before. If
position.
anybody's wondering, there's nothing before. Like there is no invitation. It's just Kelly forwarding this, and then we got it. So and there's nothing after.
Yeah.
And then what's after? What's
So
underneath this Randy Hillier thing is other promotion with links that you can click. And
unfortunately, it's really not evidence of anything.
I don't think it's any evidence of anything. So we can end that there. Well, I mean the email dispute. But now but we have other things there that kind of came
a
up.
little bit more information on Chris Guy that's come up since he's been on. Now,
Yeah.
this is something I've been trying to address with him publicly, I guess, on Twitter as well. I've asked him a few times to give his own opinion, his own words. He can, he's got an open invite on the show to talk about this as well. But this is more along the lines of the questioning that David Menzies would have brought up. During the Rebel interview, right? So these strange screenshots, for example. Now, David only brought up one, but it seems that there's quite a few.
Yeah, and they came up. First of all, we did like a very 1 hour and a half or 2 hour interview with him, and he talked a lot. And we wanted to cover the Rob Carbone thing and the Ottawa dispute. And then this happened the day before. So we felt also like the number thing with the Holocaust. That was like, whatever. Like,
Oh yeah,
we understood.
The Rebel interview happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did bring up the Rebel interview during the interview, but we thought that was more of like an isolated incident. Now
Exactly.
there seems to be quite a bit more to this whole scenario, which again brings up some questions for me and for David Menzies really as to why he wouldn't have brought up more of these details, because I'm sure if he dug up that one old screenshot, he's probably got what we have, which is quite a few details here.
If we're giving benefit of the doubt, maybe we can also say Chris freaked out right away. So I mean, he may have had those questions lined up. Maybe those tweets were there.
David Menzies did say, I had plenty more questions for Chris.
Yeah, so that's maybe one thing. So I've been up to some other shit. You've been deep diving. So bring me through this.
Okay, so you're gonna want to click on this thing here. Yeah. So Chris posted that. It's just somebody who kind of, put quotation mark, like literally just wrote just wrote down Chris's quotes, attributing them to Chris. So Chris responded to this saying, "Look, somebody's smearing me. These quotes are fake, except for this one quote that says that like Hitler had a crystal ball or something like that." He's like, "But that was me referencing the banks." So I questioned him there.
Oh yeah. So are you saying all these quotes are fake? Other than the Hitler quote.
Except for the Hitler quote.
A
And I said, a lot of these quotes seem pretty bad, Chris. I'd be interested in knowing how many are real.
So what are these quotes? So attributed to Chris. Hitler was bang on. Like, okay, so that's one. Bottom line, there were radical differences, big ones. We are not the same. We are not equal. Okay, well, that's out of context a little bit. In a few thousand years, while other races evolved, the blacks and their low intelligence would not enable them to be on the same level. Their average black is mentally challenged. Ay, sheesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And then another one is Chris Sky celebrates when an indigenous woman is murdered because she won't have more children. And the quote is, white people should not be burdened with supporting these parasites as their kids. And their kids.
now we've gone through these details. Now Chris is contesting mostly that quote about the indigenous woman. And to be fair, I myself have yet to see that particular quote.
Yeah, okay. Me
But
the
a lot of
black
these
thing,
other quotes,
yeah, but that one he didn't deny, right? The mentally ill. I mean, let's see what he means by that.
so
Okay, so but anyways, also you asked, a lot of these quotes seem pretty bad. How many are real? Actually, did he answer that to that? Happy to oblige. Oh, he just
no,
he
so
just
some
stepped
other
in.
some other guy responds and says happy to oblige and posts these screenshots.
Yeah. So he just steps in. He just asks him if it's real. The other guy steps in. Hey, I'm happy to oblige. Here they are. So subhumans, huh? Okay, so someone took a screenshot. More Muslim subhumans destroying Sweden. Now the rape capital of the world, only behind South Africa. So there he's probably talking, though, about the pedophile rapist. Like, I could see that, because there's a lot of... There were a lot of those gang rape, the gangs...
Although to be calling, like, all Muslims subhuman, little out of line, I would say.
Is that it? That's not necessarily what he's doing, right?
Well, I don't know, but to just say Muslim subhumans.
Are they Muslim and are they subhumans? Yeah, it looks bad. It does look bad, but I mean,
It's strange to attribute it to you, right? So, what if some random white guy killed a whole bunch of people or raped people, like Epstein, for example, and I'm like, look at this white subhuman.
Yeah, I know. He's acting like a leftist, basically.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that. To me, is not really what you should be saying. Like,
No.
It shouldn't be, hey, let's attribute it to this group of people.
100%.
No, look, this individual or these individuals or this group here did this, but to attribute it to a specific group, I think is pretty.
It's not how I
discriminatory.
speak. Yeah, it's not how I speak, and it is discriminatory.
So then he did respond to this message, right? And he says, yes, illegal migrants from third world nations that do not respect the laws of the country they go to are subhuman. Try migrating legally and respecting the laws and cultures of the country, and you are human. Pretty simple.
Okay, well.
But to be fair, he also said, like, refugees, and I'm not sure if he understands that refugees are legal immigrants.
Yeah, that is one thing.
But it's just,
Yeah, that's
So that's number one.
That's
okay,
number one.
Questions, sure. And this other guy's the one who posted these, right? So this
well, I
is,
think
I
I'll
guess, conversation.
So someone's he says, Chris Guy says, why lie about inviting me? Why try silence me? Why pretend my ego and not my quest for truth made me stand up to them? Why make videos lying about me being invited? Answer, they are the establishment. They lie to your face on video. Make excuses like a battered woman. Does he know a lot about that? I don't know. He's is that a life experience thing he's talking about? I don't know. Battered women to me.
Well, his wife has spoken out about this kind of stuff before, so.
I don't know. It's like, whatever. That's funny. Someone else posts, Chris Guy said, bottom line, there are racial differences, big ones. We are not the same. We are not equal. We have strengths and weaknesses. It's absolutely hilarious, and nobody would ever dare argue that a black race is by far the most athletic. On average, they can run faster, jump higher, etc. Proof, 13% of the population, yet over 75% of the NFL, NBA, etc. Where are all the Chinese and Korean NBA and NFL stars? What gives? Meanwhile, the moment you point out that black people have lower intellect than other races, ESP, Oriental Asians, you're a bigot, a racist, wrong, and nobody should listen to your lies. LOL. Meanwhile, the average Asian has an IQ over 100, and the average black has an IQ of high 70s and mid 80s. What is this? what is it? Alka mentally or AK, sorry, aka mentally challenged.
Right.
Which is why in the millions of years of human evolution, even though most of Europe and Asia and Africa were, by the way, this is still a quote, we're always at war with things always changing hands. Races developed in specific areas, and different societies that developed in the millennia following reflected the strengths and weaknesses in each race. Problem for black people: the more civilized we become, less physical traits matter, and the more intellect matters. This is why advanced black society doesn't exist. But they make great athletes. Not so great as migrants, though.
These are like extremely racist tropes, by the way, but we'll go through that.
Yeah. And he says, yes, there are racial differences. Sorry to burst your bubble with a dose of reality. Racial
Right.
differences.
So, confirming that he, in fact, did say that, right?
Yeah, he is. So
If he didn't say it, he would have responded saying, "I didn't say that shit."
well, I mean, he wouldn't deny that here, I bet. So, but it's like
He might.
racial differences, but are they inherent racial differences? Like that's the thing. His thing about have there or could there ever been a successful black society? Well, we have reasons for them not being so. Well, again, you've prepared a nice little fucking.
I've prepared a little bit of a something to go through here so that we can dispel some of these narratives as well. Okay.
It's just
so
a response
here,
video, basically.
Yeah. Here I get. So you see, I get banned for saying Muslims and child rape go together like burgers and fries. The Muslim literally says he will murder all non-Muslims. Facebook says it doesn't go against their community guidelines. Enough said. And that content is not available at the moment.
Yeah. So. Okay, so that's that. That's what he posted. This new guy.
Yeah. So this other guy posted these screenshots. So my response was, so here you've confirmed another one of the quotes, right? Because there was a couple of the quotes there that he had confirmed, like mentally challenged and that kind of stuff, right? So I asked Chris, would you like to respond? And he said, screenshots of what other people wrote, and then put Chris Sky. I have no problem owning up to anything I write and stand by my convictions. And if people don't like me all of a sudden, cool, I can leave Canada, stop fighting for you, and let them have you if you like. So,
Okay. That's
whatever.
I'm afraid now.
Yeah, right. Because I'm sure that if Chris Sky left the country, that would make a huge difference.
Yeah. So we got Chris Sky. Here's some more. Again, from the same guy? Yeah, same guy.
Yeah, so the same guy comes back and posts more of these screenshots.
Chris
So
Sky.
Jews in Israel are the gay. So this is a Chris Sky quote, by the way.
Yeah.
Jews in Israel are the gayest people in the world, and uber proud of it. So when you wondering where all these pro-LGBT and transgender laws designed to destroy the family unit and make individuals more dependent on the state, they all come from the same place, the Jewish community. Not because they care about equality or rights, because they know it's the most effective method to expand their control over the Goyim. Oh yeah, and because Zionists are the biggest pedophiles in the world, followed closely by the Catholic Church. So he's associating pedophilia with Jews and LGBTQ people.
Specifically the
saying
Zion.
that-
Well, no, actually.
He's saying that like the LGBT is
He's mixing them up.
Yeah, yeah, and he's saying that that's generally something that's done by people who don't care about Zionist versus Jew, right? It's kind of a slight show, like it's a tell when you use them interchangeably that way, that you don't actually give a fuck about the difference. So yeah, he's claiming that these pro-LGBTQ laws, first of all, destroy the family. I see no evidence that they destroy the family unit and make individuals more dependent on the state. If anything, the nuclear family unit actually serves to make many individuals more dependent on the state. If you had an extended family unit where, like, grandparents stayed to take care of the children in the house, and that was more normalized in our society, that actually destroys a lot more state dependency. So it's just,
Yeah, it's looking at it with like as if there's just two sides of a coin kind of thing. Mark Works says Hollywood. It's a one word he said.
Okay. Good
Uh,
job.
Chris Guy then says professional analysis shows that pumped up myths of the Holocaust, explaining how with all the gas chambers and crematories found in the camps, it would have taken the Nazis over 68 years to murder 5 million Jews. Yes, Jews did die during World War II, but so did every other religion. To have the world pay ransom, I mean tribute to one religion indefinitely is ridiculous and by far the most effective hoax ever committed on humankind. And yes, I've been to the camps in Germany and I've seen the chambers for myself. And then he says here, over 60 million people were killed during World War II. Let's remember everybody equally.
So that second comment is one that I can agree with.
Yeah.
The whole gas chamber or whatever, the whole look-to report has been looked at and dispelled. That's, again, something that we're going to look at in a few minutes here. But yeah, it's just more of, basically this is what goes around in the Holocaust denier circles. So he might want to say that he's not a denier, but these revisionists, I mean, it's interesting. Now, here is a quote from Chris Sky, but it's actually a quote of Chris Sky quoting Mein Kampf. So he says, for while the Zionists try to make the rest of the world believe that the national consciousness of the Jew finds its satisfaction in the creation of a Palestinian state, the Jews again slyly dupe the dumb Goyim. It doesn't even enter their heads up to build a Jewish state in Palestine for the purpose of living there. All they want is central organization for their international world swindle, endowed with its own sovereign rights and removed from the international intervention of other states, a haven for convicted scoundrels and a university for budding crooks. So he acknowledges that's from Mein Kampf and then says, holy fuck, 100% bang on, like he had a crystal ball into the future. Apparently Hitler was very, very foretelling.
I like how he comments on his own things.
Yeah, that's always interesting.
And at the time, this is at a time where, oh, look how little attention he was getting.
Yeah,
And
he
now
has
he's
one
getting all the
comment, and that's his
attention.
own. I wonder if if the two likes, if one of them is from him too.
More confirmation and quotes. This is not looking good. You said, would you like to see him responding to his hypocrisy before a mask mandate? Laugh my ass off. And another racist tweet.
Right. So this is about the masks.
Okay. Yeah, you did it because the tattoo store owner requested it. You didn't want that person to mess up your tattoo. You did it for yourself. Nah. Yes, March 2020, pre-mask mandates or exemptions worn at my own charity event for a non-profit organization to protect the tattoo store from getting a fine.
So wait, it's pre-mask mandates, but it's to protect the store from getting a fine? That doesn't make sense.
Not at all.
Because if there were no mask mandates, how would the store get a fine?
Yeah.
Like, why would they get a fine if there was no mask mandate? They're not
I don't
breaking the
remember a
mandate,
time where there were no mandates but fines also given.
But they
I
were
don't
giving
remember.
out fines for. They were like, look, masks aren't mandatory, but if we find you without a mask in a store, you get fined. That's not a mandate, though.
Okay. There's that, and then there's this. Average IQ, Europe, almost 100. Average world IQ, 87.5. Average Muslim nation IQ, low mid-80s, which by definition is low IQ. AKA below world average and well below European and or Oriental Asian average. Sorry, the facts don't care about being politically correct.
So he's right about IQ differences, but we're going to get into that as well.
Yeah. Is any of this something you'd like to respond to? So you gave him the window here to respond.
Yeah, right.
I've been provided with more screenshots. So this is the one. Gene Simmons.
This one's interesting.
Gene Simmons, Family Jewels. Did you ever watch
Like,
that?
this is like, remember we did that video on the Satanic Panic and that kind of stuff? The finders?
Yeah,
This is that kind of shit.
it is. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Gene
Yeah.
Simmons, the Jewish lead of KISS, Knights in Satan's Service. Is that what really it stands for? I don't know.
No.
Is
Nope.
it just
The band had said nope.
does it just stand for KISS? No, I don't know. It probably I don't know what it stands for. It probably stands for something. So that name should have said it all. Is seen on video saying the Gentiles. So Gene Simmons is seen on video saying the Gentiles, so the non-Jews, are here to serve the Jews. Well, there's a lot of that language in some books and stuff. I don't know if I've seen Gene Simmons say that. So prominent Jew leading up a prominent Jew leading up a band glorifying that they are doing Satan's work is propagating the idea that Jews are masters and we are their slaves.
I'm pretty sure that Gene Simmons was like born in Israel to like a Holocaust survivor.
Oh yeah,
So he might have like some ideas about what's going on, but
maybe. I
was
can't
able to
say
pull
this.
I was able to pull up this video that he's talking about.
Oh yeah, you want to watch it now
We
or just?
have that video.
Oh, okay. We'll go through it after. There's more stuff. Okay, so here one comment says if the U.S., Canada, and European nations had not waged one aggressive war after another against nations in the Middle East and North Africa, there would not be millions of refugees. You made your bed, so if you wish to complain, now maybe it should be a complaint against yourself for allowing your government in your name to commit such crimes. Good point.
Now, another thing that occurs is that they've actually done tests on populations in times, like the same population, right? The same group of people in times of stress versus times of like good times, right? Mm-hmm. So like when there's a drought and they have less food versus like when they have all the food that they could eat, that kind of stuff. And it's found that when people are in times of severe stress, that their IQ actually does lower by like a significant amount.
That's the thing, is that I don't dispute, and you just said it, I don't dispute necessarily IQ differences, and there are, quote, differences in race, but there are reasons for that. It's not like that it's inherent within the race,
right.
And
Well, especially because for a few things, we do see that when the populations tend to kind of come together, that those differences come apart, right? The more that the more we become like culturally homogenous, where we become very similar to each other, the more those IQ differences go away over time. So like, for example, like black people in the U.S. today, their IQ is closer to that of like your average white person as it was before, right? Before they had the same kind of levels of education and this kind of stuff. So it just shows you that it is not inherent in the race, and we will go through some of that information. We do have that as well.
Yeah. So Chris Guy responded to that shit. He said, that's 100% certified bullshit. With a winky smiley face. Africa is a collection of third world countries because blacks lack the sophistication to make an advanced civilization. It just ends there, right?
Now, okay, first off, let's address third world countries because it seems like it's a term that Chris likes to use. So third world, first world, second world countries, if you don't really understand what these are, it actually just comes from the Cold War. First world countries means U.S. and its allies. Second world countries means USSR and its allies. And third world countries are people who are not aligned with either. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the country is in a poor state or anything of that sort. It's just not allied with the United States or the USSR. And now that the USSR is gone, we largely never hear about second world countries. That's why you don't really hear about second world.
Yeah.
It's largely just gone.
They aren't refugees, he says. They are just swelling populations living in poverty, being weaponized by the forces of communism who failed taking over with military means, and now is using migration as their weapon of choice. They definitely are not white people's responsibility, and they don't have a right to destroy the identity of the cultures of other nations. This is an invasion and a war, simply by different method.
Right.
White people's responsibility.
That's pretty fucking racist, but yeah. A lot of these people are refugees. A lot of these situations are propagated by colonizing, not necessarily, let's not say white people, but colonizers. It's the colonial nations. France today still subjugates like about 14 countries in Africa through France Afrique. We've covered multiple videos on this. You can go look through that. Check out my Just Chatting. I go through a lot of the colonial history there. Chris is full of shit. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
Chris says in the bottom there, Africa is a continent of third world countries. Why? Because in the last few thousands of years, while the races evolved, the blacks, and their low intelligence would not enable them to be on the same level. Hence why there is no black advance. Okay, so it's the same shit.
Right.
Like he's referring to them as the blacks. Now, I think we've said this, but just to reiterate, he's invited back to. I mean, if we're not just doing this behind his
back,
back
an open
there.
invitation on the show to come and discuss these things for himself. I've, as you see, sent him these messages on Twitter as well. No reply for the most part. So,
what is this? Ouch! Jew admits Holocaust is a fraud and a psyop. You should read this if you went to high school and were taught a complete bullshit version of history.
So he says he's not a Holocaust denier, but here he calls it a fraud and a psyop, and says that what we learned in high school is a bullshit version of history. So, to me,
the guy who wrote the article is Jewish.
That is Holocaust denial.
And he keeps. Is this just a clever way someone just pulled his comments because he's just responding, but there are more comments. So maybe it's just me. But so he says the guy who wrote is Jewish, and the 6 million killed in the Holocaust has been disproven so many times by scientific researchers. Actually, even pathetic, but most people believe in the lie. A lot of people died. Okay, so he keeps saying that.
I'd like to see the scientific evidence he has because
They proclaim to read it all 6 million names out loud, a 24-hour broadcast, which is physically impossible. It doesn't matter. The entire thing is a lie to begin with. Well, there you go. See, David Menzies, why didn't you? Although,
a lie to begin with.
You see, maybe that would have been the first one to pull up.
Yeah.
Because, well, maybe he didn't expect them to walk out like that. But I mean,
so in this message, I would say that he is denying the Holocaust.
Yeah.
He calls it a fraud, a psyop, says we learned a bullshit version of history, and says that the entire thing is a lie to begin with.
Yeah, that last one is the one. Because, I mean, I can.
Well, even a fraud and a psyop, though?
No, well, that one, those ones too. But, I mean, the one sentence where he said, everything we've been taught is a lie. Well, I mean, there's a lot of that.
That's true. I mean, a lot of what we've been taught is a lie. But to be fair,
psyop,
to call it a fraud, a psyop, and to say that it's the entire thing is a lie.
Well, exactly. So like psyop is still bad, but I mean somehow you could probably so I could see him finding an excuse. You can't find an excuse for this last sentence. I feel the entire thing is a lie to begin with. I mean that's pretty outright. Okay. And
then he starts off into as for who controls the media, right?
Yeah, it's not really Jews. It's Zionists, Jewish extremists. If you're interested, I've never heard the quote or seen it before about First Nations people. Oh, okay, so he said the thing about First Nations. But if you're interested in what he thinks, especially about unmarked graves, should be inside 10-minute mark. Oh, in this?
Yeah, so he put up this interview he did with Stu Peters, I guess.
In one breath, he says, yeah, whatever, some mass graves were found of indigenous people. Who cares? It was 50 years ago. The next breath, the next breath, I unite people, including the indigenous people. Yeah, well, who cares? That's pretty fucked up. So that's it. That's where it ends.
Yeah. So those are the screenshots. I've asked Chris to respond, like I said. No messages. He doesn't. In a lot of these, he is responding to the messages. So even years later, in some cases. So it's interesting to go through.
Yeah.
But let's just go through some of the details that he gave. So the Lookter report is one of the things that he mentioned, which was about the number of people who could be used or who could be burned up in basically the Nick Fuentes Cookie Monster meme.
Yeah.
That's basically what this is. Okay. So the Lookter report claims to prove that the gas chambers at Auschwitz-Birkenau did not exist. How do we know that this report is not scientifically sound? So Holocaust deniers claim a scientific study called the Lookter Report proves conclusively that there was no gas chambers at Auschwitz-Birkenau. In this report, Fred Lookter concluded that there were not there were only insignificant traces of Zyklon B in his scientific samples at the gas chambers of Auschwitz-Birkenau. Therefore, the alleged gas chambers at the inspected sites could not have been or now be utilized or seriously considered function as execution gas chambers. The facts are, the Luchter reports is junk science. Luchter's methods were flawed and his conclusions are false. Luchter collected his samples in an uncontrolled manner, and the type of analysis was not appropriate for producing accurate results. His conclusions are not supported by evidence, including all of the following conclusions: that there were no provisions for gasket airtight doors, windows, or vents, that there was no ventilation, that the Nazis themselves would have died from exposure to the Zyklon B, and that there were only insignificant traces of Zyklon B. So what is the Luchter report? In 1988, Ernst Zundel, a German-Canadian Holocaust denier, was put on trial in Canada for spreading false news. As part of his defense, Zundel commissioned a self-appointed specialist on execution gas chambers, Fred Luchter, to conduct a forensic examination of the gas chambers in Auschwitz-Birkenau and other camps. So already, it's a Holocaust denier who's just funding this dude to get him a report, okay? Luchter went to Auschwitz-Birkenau where, without official permission, he covertly removed fist-sized samples of brick and concrete and then sent these materials to a forensics laboratory for analysis. In the report, Luchter concluded that there were no execution chambers at any of these locations. In Luchter's opinion, the alleged gas chambers at the inspected sites could not have been or now be utilized or seriously considered to function as execution gas chambers. Zundel submitted the Luchter report as evidence in this trial and wanted Fred Luchter to be a witness for his defense. However, when Luchter was questioned by the court and about his credentials as an expert witness, it was discovered that he wasn't licensed as an engineer. Luchter's degree was in the humanities, and he had no expertise in chemistry, toxicology, or cremation. All specialized subjects he addressed in the Luchter report. So the court therefore refused to enter the Luchter report as evidence and did not accept Luchter as an expert witness. The Luchter report was published in 1989. It quickly became a cornerstone of Holocaust denial and remains so today. So how we know the Luchter report is unscientifically sound, or is scientifically unsound, Luchter collected 31 fist-sized samples of brick and mortar from the Kremas gas chambers and one controlled sample from the delousing building in Birkenau. The Nazis regularly used the delousing building in order to delouse clothing or bedding and combat typhus in the camp. Luchter collected the samples in a covert, random, and undocumented manner. There is no way of knowing whether the mortar and bricks that Luchter sampled had actually come from anywhere near the gas chamber rooms. Luchter's sampling method can be seen in the Errol Morris film, Mr. Death, The Rise and Fall of Fred Luchter Jr. In this film, Luchter can be seen digging big chunks of brick and concrete randomly out of walls, floors, and ceilings. At one point, he even collected chunks of brick and concrete from a puddle of melted snow on the floor of what he claims was a gas chamber. It was not a gas chamber, but was actually from the cremation oven area. Each fist-sized chunk of brick or concrete was ground up into powder for analysis. This presents another problem. Any minute trace of the HCN, cyanide, right? So it's the Zyklon B residue that might have been present became an even more minuscule part of the larger samples. A more appropriate method would have been tested only the surface of the samples. However, the lab was not informed what these samples were being analyzed for, thus the lab subjected the entire sample to analysis. It is clear that the methodology of the Luchter report was flawed from the start. Luchter's sample collection was not controlled, and the method of analysis was entirely unable to produce accurate results.
Pretty fucked. Should we move
So
on?
basically, it'll keep going through this, but yeah, you guys can go through it if you'd like. It's entirely debunked. It's junk science by some crazed guy who was just hired by a Holocaust denier because he was on trial. So he tried to get him off, right?
Yeah.
So it's total bullshit.
We have this KISS shit.
Okay, next we're gonna look at KISS. Does it stand for Knights in Satan's Service?
False. Okay. Origins. If Parents in the 1950s thought Elvis Presley was corrupting the youth of America by shaking his hips while crooning such innocuous tunes. All shook up. Don't be
So
cool.
go
They
down
must
into
have-
there's a big quote where from Kiss in
This one?
your thing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So why did Kiss?
No, that's the one.
This one.
Should be above that.
A
Yeah.
Kiss bassist, though, Gene Simmons. As Kiss bassist, Gene Simmons explained in his autobiography, the rumors were just rumors, even if the band didn't exactly go out of its way to discourage them. Because I mean, I would
So
see
they kind of
back.
fed the rumors because
Well, yeah.
it was like, you know,
Yeah, it's just like rock and roll, bro. Yeah, we're Satanists.
they were like,
That's what
oh,
we're
you
going
think
for.
we're Satanists? Okay. So then they did all kinds of weird shit, right?
I can see that. Misinformation about the band began to spread in the southern Bible Belt states, including a rumor that the name KISS stood for Knights in Satan's Service, and that the four of us were devil worshippers. Ironically, this rumor started as a result of an interview I gave in Circus Magazine after our first album. In response to a question, I said that I sometimes wondered what human flesh tastes like. I never wanted, I never wanted to really find out, but I was curious intellectually. Later on, this comment seemed to ignite the whole idea that in some way, Kiss was aligned with devil worship. When I was asked whether I worshiped the devil, I simply refused to answer a number of questions. The first reason, of course, was that it was good press. Let people wonder. Especially for that type of band and
yeah, at the time,
the
all these
marketing.
rebellious kids were listening to music, and he was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Now, I know a lot of anti-Zionist, anti-Jew people will probably say, yeah, but in their book it says they can lie to you. So it's like, oh, you can't win any argument with those types of people, so you don't talk to those types of people. But the other reason was my complete disregard for people who were asking. Through the years, whenever religious fanatics accosted me, especially in the southern states, and quoted the Old Testament at me, I would quote them back chapter and verse. They didn't know I had been a theology major in school. An idiot is an idiot, whether he quotes the Bible or not. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I believe it.
Yeah, I believe that, right?
Yeah.
That seems legit. That seems like a legit answer.
Seems
where
very
he's like, yeah, these crazy religious people thought we were devil worshippers, so we kind of fed into it.
Yeah. Now you can
Now
say.
next, we do have the clip of Gene Simmons saying what Chris was saying.
Let's do it. I mean, okay, so. Well,
The following clip
Let's do this.
is used for journalistic purposes only. Therefore, it is presented in fair usage. In
Same here.
episode 4, season 1 of Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, Gene Simmons lets everyone know what us non-Jews are here for. Apparently, non-Jews exist to serve the Jew. His words, not mine.
Looks like a mess in here. What the hell is all this?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
That's what Gentiles are for. You hire them to work on your car.
So when our men and
That's
women
it.
are over in
Yeah.
That's the quote.
fighting the Muslims for the sake of Israel and
You can
Jewish
pause it.
domination,
It's just, the guy just talks after this. There's nothing more. That's it. That's the whole quote, by the way.
Okay, well. That
Like,
could
it
be a real
sounds-
quote.
That's
But that-
literally that's a joke.
It could be. It could not be. But I think it's a joke.
Even if it's not, I don't care. It's
No,
like
I don't care.
one random dude.
Oh yeah, it's just I would find I find it
saying
funny.
like an offhanded comment. Like,
Yeah, I do find it funny
don't
that
care.
there's a group of people that call us Gentiles. That's hilarious to me.
yeah, I think that's fun. Well, like I said, he is, the son of like a Holocaust survivor who was born in he was born in Israel. I'm pretty sure. So it's kind of like if anybody says the word Gentile, it'd be him.
Yeah, but I mean it's kind of a shitty thing for this community to do. So yeah, it's just like, but I mean I don't care that as much as whoever the fuck made this video. Who is he?
It's kind of what's that?
Fativa
It's
movie.
a shitty thing for what?
What's a shitty thing to think? Like
Yeah, for sure.
to be
It's
part of like
absolutely
this
stupid
culture.
thing. It's an absolutely stupid thing to say. Yeah.
So, but I can see him again. It's either like again because it's the Family Jewels, it's a family show. They're filmed at every point of their day, and he says some stupid shit like that, and then they edit it in, and it's like it was candid. Or he knows he's being filmed, and he's like, Hey, this is what the Gentiles are doing. He's feeding into it. Like,
He's just fucking with people. I don't know. Yeah,
maybe.
there's a lot to it. He does say it. Like I said, he does say
does say
what
it.
the quote that Chris attributes to him. So there's that. But I honestly don't give a fuck, and I don't think that it's like a big like revelation that all Jews are working
Bro,
together
they're rich.
against the Gentiles.
The
or
fact that he
something like
called them Gentiles is the only thing. Rich people do that all the time. If I had, like, I can imagine any rich motherfucker from Hollywood going to his son and saying, "Why the fuck are you fixing your cars? You hire some pleb to do that, just some
Yeah,
random
dude,
fuck."
this is what this
But
is
they
what
call them
the,
Gentiles.
yeah,
You know.
it's what the laymen are for, man.
Exactly. They're rich as fuck.
You're
It's
yourself
just
a
an elite.
blue-collar worker or something.
And
like
you know
that.
what?
Like,
Maybe shit on him and hate on him for his elitism. Maybe that.
yeah,
I don't
100%.
know.
Elitism is bullshit. Doesn't matter what ethnicity or race or whatever you are.
Exactly. It's like that's the problem that these people have with this Gentile and Goyim thing. It's like, well, you look down upon me, but whatever.
But I mean, that's one thing, I guess.
But I mean, it's not even that. Like I said, I think he's maybe joking. Maybe not.
So this site is just what I used as a source. If you go to the email I sent you, there's a quote here.
Oh, this the Mein Kampf.
So this is the extract from Mein Kampf that Chris quoted. I just wanted to put it into full context.
Here it is. The Jew domination. No, I'm kidding. Richard Stallman is in the chat. How's it going? First time I see you. He says, I'd like to interject a moment. What are you referring to as Linux is in fact GNU/Linux, or as I've recently taken to calling it GNU plus Linux.
Okay.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about like the
Cool.
computer Linux, or like did we like
Yeah.
the...
That's what I'm using right now. I'm using Ubuntu, but okay, cool story, bro.
All right, bro. Maybe we can buy a computer from you. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
So yeah, I just wanted to put the quote that he used into context, basically give you like the full situation, right?
Yeah. The Jews' domination in the state seems so assured that now not only can he call himself a Jew again, but he ruthlessly admits his ultimate national and political designs. A section of his race openly owns itself to be a foreign people, yet even here they lie. Again, this is still a quote. I'm not saying this. For while the Zionists try to make the rest of the world believe that the national consciousness of the Jew finds its satisfaction in the creation of a Palestinian state, the Jew again slyly dupe the dumb goyim. It doesn't even enter their heads to build up a Jewish state in Palestine for the purpose of living there. All they want is a central organization for their international world swindle, endowed with its own sovereign rights and removed from their intervention of other states. A haven for convicted scoundrels, and a university for budding crooks.
Yeah, now that part of the quote was what Chris included, and then there's obviously a little. The first part wasn't included, and then this end part also not included.
And it is a sign of their rising confidence and sense of security that at a time when one section is still playing the German, Frenchman, or Englishman, the other people, effrontery, comes out as the Jewish race. How close they see approaching victory can be seen by the hideous aspect which their relations with the members of the people takes on. With satanic joy in their face, black-haired Jewish youth lurks in wait for the unsuspecting girl whom he defiles with his blood, thus stealing her from her people. With every means, With every means, he tries to destroy the racial foundation of the people he has set out to subjugate. Just as he himself systematically ruins women and girls, he does not shrink back from pulling down the blood barriers for others, even on a large scale. It was and is Jews who bring the Negroes into the Rhineland. Always, again, this is a quote.
Again, these are things that Chris himself has kind of echoed, right? These sentiments that the blacks are being used, as to destroy some sort of racial foundation, this kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I apologize. I don't like to do this, but I'm going to have to ban Richard Stallman. He said gay N-words twice.
He said it, he's saying it way more than twice, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
he's just spamming it.
Well, I blocked him. Is he done?
All the messages have been deleted.
Okay. Well, I blocked him, so maybe that's why. Sorry, Susan.
Yeah.
So is that Chris
That doesn't
Sky? No,
belong,
I'm kidding.
Especially not on this video, okay?
No, yeah,
We're
this
not- we're,
video.
We're already risky just covering this stuff.
That's right. So yeah, I didn't.
So yeah, so again, right? So
And-
it was and is Jews who bring the Negroes into the Rhineland, so into like Germany, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Always with the same secret though and clear aim of running the hated white race by the necessary resulting bastardization, throwing it down from its cultural and political height, and himself rising to be its master. So, again, these sentiments are things that Chris has reflected through those screenshots that we showed. So it's, you know, when you see it in full context, obviously it's a lot more, shocking than the specific section that Chris chose to quote. I don't know if he read all of Mein Kampf, but it sounds like he has. Really sounds like he has, because he does echo a lot of these same talking.
Yeah. We're getting trolled here, boys, because we got another account who did the same thing. So again,
These must be are these Chris Sky trolls?
I think so. Thing is, they're very clever because in YouTube you can put the words that should be banned, and I did that because I mean we should. I mean it's just to cover our asses. And then, but this isn't. Oh, this is another account, I guess. This isn't like this isn't just letters. Like they got special characters that I didn't. So they went around the this another way. Don't fuck with our channels, guys. We're gonna fucking
Fuck right off.
But that's fine. We got the Live, Rumble, Facebook.
Gwen Stefani, whoever the fuck you really are, you're a piece of shit.
I bet it's the real Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, probably.
I keep
Big
blocking.
Chris Sky fan, this one.
I keep hitting block. Is it just different? Okay, let me go on YouTube. Because I'm just doing this from Restream. Sorry, Susan. This is either like fucking Chris Sky, Redator.
Yeah, it's somebody who wants to, somebody who believes this kind of shit. Anyway,
Let me see.
I think we can move on. Yeah, it's
Oh, that's your voice. Give me a second. I gotta take care of it. So yeah, move on to there was this African kingdoms. He talked about the black
yeah.
people.
So no advanced African civilizations, right? In human history is what he said, right? So I just want to go through a small subsect of very significant African nations. How is Gwen Stefani still going?
I don't know. It's maybe more than one account because I banned it. So unwanted harassment, hate speech. There we go. Okay.
Are you just blocking, like, on the message? Because I think that, I don't know. Because I can do that from my end here, and I think, like, without being in the account.
Well, I can, but then it, well, like I'm hitting block on Restream, but it's not remove. Well, thanks, bro. You're having me test out my blocking skill. I'm gonna have to get that done because I mean, you're the first guy who's this much of a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, whoever the fuck's doing this, you're a piece of shit. Just know that.
It's all good. Give me a second then. Well, we had this video we can start while I'm fucking around. British colonization of Africa.
So wait, let's just let's start with the
article.
nine, yeah, the 9 nations.
Sounds good.
We hadn't gone through any of that. So with the cradle of humankind found in modern day South Africa and some of the oldest learning centers in the world spread across the continent, there can be no argument that Africa is the very root of human civilization as we know it. From her fertile soils, societies were formed and Homo sapiens spread across the globe, leaving empirical legacies in the form of Aztec and Mayan ruins in the Americas to remnants of the Roman Empire, which we see dotted across Eurasia. That said, there were plenty of African kingdoms and empires spread out across the continent too, regional and political powerhouses much like those that fill our history books today. Ancient Egypt is perhaps the most famous of all, but the hubbub around it sorely overlooks other impressive civilizations and the effects they had on the continent. Let's take a look at some of Africa's most notable empires and civilizations. So one, we got the Aksumite Empire. So where was this? This was in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Yemen. So very large empire, right? When? 100 to 960 CE. It's also known as the Kingdom of Aksum. This ancient society is the oldest of the African kingdoms on the list and is spread across what is today Ethiopia and Eritrea, in an area where evidence of farming dates back 10,000 years. The Aksumites were key players in the commercial trading routes which existed between the Romans and ancient India, and they were considered one of the four great powers of their time alongside China, Rome, and Persia. The Aksumites erected several stelae, stone wooden slabs acting as monuments in pre-Christian times during their reign, but one of them is the most famous of all. Standing at 79 feet, the obelisk of Aksum is approximately 1,700 years old and is found in present-day Aksum, Ethiopia. Later, when the Aksumites converted to Christianity, they unwittingly created the foundations for Ethiopia's Orthodox Church. Today, Aksum is also rumored resting place for the Ark of the Covenant.
Sorry,
That's-
bro. Yeah.
Now we've got the Kingdom of Ghana spread across parts of what is now Mauritania, Senegal, and Mali. So when? 700 to 1240 CE. So more commonly known as Ouagadougou. This kingdom was an important stop along the trans-Saharan trade route, which connected African societies in the Salé to the markets found along the coastlines of the Mediterranean Sea and the trans-Saharan gold trade. Although its capital city was said to have changed several times, one of these, Kurumbi Saleh, was the biggest city south of the Sahara Desert. At its peak, it was home to between 15,000 and 20,000 people, a phenomenal population for a city which had a limited water supply. They specialized in the trade of gold and kola nut, the latter of which became the secret ingredient in Coca-Cola centuries later. The Kingdom of Ghana's decline was cemented when it became part of the Kingdom of Mali around the year 1240 CE. So we can see these large structures. Now you have the Mali Empire, right? So spread across parts of what is now the Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Senegal. So this was from about 1230 CE to 1670 CE until the colonizers came, right? It makes sense that our next entry comes after the Kingdom of Ouagadougou, given that, in its decline, it was eventually annexed by the Kingdom of Mali. While the Ghana Empire traded in gold, the Malian Empire actually mined gold from its mines, which by the end of the 1200s was the source of approximately 50% of the world's gold supply. Of all the African kingdoms on this list, the Malian Empire most famous ruler, Mansa Musa, was the richest person even by today's standards. He is regarded as one of the wealthiest people in the world history, which records suggesting that Mali was the largest producer of gold on earth during his reign.
I was
so
about
richest
to
person
mention
in history, basically.
Yeah, I was about to mention this dude right before we were gonna read this. It's like that's the
Is
first
that
guy.
Mansa Musa?
Yeah, that's the I don't know, one of the dudes
Yeah.
I recently learned about, and I was gonna mention one of the the
Yeah, there's
richest guy ever
plenty-
to have lived was fucking
Literally ever in history, pretty much.
Yeah, even by today's standards, fucked up.
Okay. Next, the Sanghe Empire. So Benin, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, and the Gambia. When? About 1000 to 1591 CE. Lauded as one of the largest states in history on the continent, you'll probably know the Songhay Empire at the mention of one of its most prominent cities, Timbuktu, which was one of the most important learning centers in the region. Academics and skilled workers came from all over the continent, the Middle East, and even as far afield as Spain to study and work there. The Songhai Empire rose out of the decline of the Mali Empire and was responsible for expanding and controlling several important trans-Saharan trade routes at the time. Another huge one in history, right?
Yep.
Now we have the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, obviously this one, Zimbabwe. 1220 to 1450. The Kingdom of Zimbabwe's modern-day claim to fame is its capital, Great Zimbabwe, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city was home to around 18,000 people at its peak and spanned across an area of 7 square kilometers. While the kingdom's heyday was from around 1220 CE onward, archaeologists estimated that the start of the kingdom was as early as the 11th century. The city had a monopoly on the trade of gold and ivory from the southeastern coast of the continent to the interior, and where farmed miners specializing in minerals such as copper, iron, and gold. While the success of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe led to the decline of Mapungubwe, hope I said that correctly, Great Zimbabwe's decline saw the rise of the Kingdom of Mutapa, the next entrant on our list.
Mutapa.
Yeah, so next is Mutapa, spread across parts of what is now Lesotho, Mozambique, South Africa, Swaziland, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. From 1430 to 1760, the Mutapa Empire encompassed a truly staggering portion of southern Africa, from the Limpopo and Zambezi rivers to the Indian Ocean coastline. Its territory was so large that if it were around today, it would stretch across parts of 6 southern African nations. Legend has it a warrior prince from the Kingdom of Zimbabwe established the Kingdom of Mutapa. Within a generation, Mutapa eclipsed the glory of what was Great Zimbabwe and its surrounds. The Portuguese unwittingly became middlemen between India and the Mutapa's smaller kingdoms in their bid to control trade in the region, which was also fueled by rumors that biblical mines of King Solomon were held by rulers of Mutapa. The Kingdom of Mutapa wielded such power they acquired a subsidy from every captain who took office in Portuguese Mozambique, and they imposed a 50% tax levy on all trade goods imported. Sadly, the kingdom's decline began in the early 17th century due to factional infighting, which gave the Portuguese an opportunity to make Mutapa a vassal state. So again, toppled by colonization.
Yeah. I mean, should we move on? We got the Ethiopian.
Let's just quickly go through the others. So there's the Ethiopian Empire. You can just jump through.
Oh,
We're
okay,
just I
Ethiopia.
just want to read them all off. The Kingdom of Congo and the Benin Empire. So if you want to look into it, there's a lot more details about very great African empires before colonization. It's not the fault of the peoples. They weren't always the most uneducated, as you see with Timbuktu. You know, people from the Middle East, people from even Spain went to Timbuktu to study.
Yeah. And then you have colonization at the same time as we have this huge and rapid technological advancement within our world and just in all sorts of areas. So then they're missing out in tons of education because of where they are. Well, not necessarily. I mean, there's still some smart Africans out there who know what they're doing, who's like going abroad. But like the fact that they're in this situation now, especially, I feel like has exacerbated.
It's largely our responsibility.
Yeah, and it's exacerbated the issue more because of what we've done during a time of such expansion of new technology and information.
We
and
stole
whatnot.
the resources they could have used to expand, and we use them for our expansion through them, right?
Yeah.
And then these things that we've built in a lot of these nations, for example, roads, these kinds of things that were built in these colonies. A lot of these nations now have to pay reparations back to their colonizers. A lot of people don't know about this. a lot of these nations pay reparations back to their colonizers right now because they are in what is called colonial debt, and they have to pay back the infrastructure that was built in their nation while the colonizers were there. So you came to my country, you killed a bunch of my people, started building roads. Now you left. Now I got to pay you for the roads you built while you were here, right?
Yeah.
So that's total bullshit. Now a lot of these nations are in debt. There's that, but there's also the monetary policies that are layovers from colonization, which exacerbate the ability for them to fund education centers or anything of that sort in their nations. So
Yeah. This bitch.
Yeah. It's a lot more than just, the blacks are inherently worse, but
Yeah.
they're athletic, right? Like that's absolute bullshit.
Oops, that's us. The video, you want to go through that a bit, or this, what is this, Torah written in memory of 6
So
million?
this is what he was, I guess, this is what I think he probably was attributing to the fact that the 6 million number is in the Torah.
Yeah.
There was a Torah that was written in memory of the 6 million Jews.
Okay. If someone wants to point me the quote that he might, like, if this is what he's talking about, then yeah, I mean, that would be a
Well, that's all I
misunderstanding.
mean, is that, like, I've looked through the Torah in search of 6 million. The only thing I could find is that they did write a Torah that included a mention of the 6 million Jews, but this was later addition. It wasn't an original, message. So it's in memory of the 6 million Jews who died in the Holocaust.
All right. Holocaust facts.
So
where
if
is
you
it
want to
from?
point me to exactly where that number would be in the text, then we can go through it. But this is, again, so this would be where the 6 million number came from.
One
A
of the most
lot of
well-known-
information here.
Yeah. One of the most well-known, if not iconic, facts about the Holocaust is the number of Jewish victims killed by Nazi Germany up through the end of World War II. Perhaps not surprisingly, it is also the number 6 million, that Holocaust deniers aim at when trying to discredit the essential nature of the Holocaust. So when did the number 6 million come from? Where did it come from? And considering the amount of original research that has been done in recent decades, is it still considered accurate by scholars of the subject? The number seems to have first been mentioned by Dr. Wilhelm Holt, an Austrian-born official in the Third Reich, and a trained historian who served in a number of senior positions in the SS. In November of 1945, Holt testified for the prosecution in the Nuremberg trials of accused Nazi war criminals. Later in the 1961 trial in Israel of Adolf Eichmann, he also submitted to a lengthy series of questions from the prosecution, speaking under oath from the courtroom of Austria. On both occasions, he described the conversation he had with the Eichmann, the SS official who had principal responsibility for the logistics of the Jewish genocide in Budapest in 1944 of August. In the 61 testimony, Holt recalled how Eichmann told me that according to this information, or his information, some 6 million Jews had perished until then, 4 million in extermination camps, and the remaining 2 million through shooting and operations units and other causes such as diseases and shit. Is it that, and that's not me, but is it that some people, when they think of 6 million, they think, and I mean, it doesn't matter, but 6 million extermination, like they think it's 6 million extermination camps. And if you tell them, well, it's 4 million roughly in an extermination camp, and 2 million,
And then 2 million
just
that
random,
were killed in other ways.
like again, disease, And would they accept that? I mean, he said it's a whole lie earlier. So I mean, he said like it's all a lie.
It's all a lie to begin with. So I don't know.
So
like I said, like here you're seeing the numbers. Yeah. So these were the original tallies. Again, this is from like an SS official. So I don't know exactly how much like weight you would give to this kind of claim.
Yeah. And that's where
but
Chris Guy was.
They've done a lot more research if you kind of want to dig a bit.
Yeah,
deeper.
we'll do. On its website, Yad Vashem, Israel's principal Holocaust research center, quotes the Eichmann reference and then says that both early and more recent estimates by a variety of different scholars have have fallen between 5 and 6 million. Such estimates are arrived at by comparing pre-war census data with population estimates made after World War II. The Germans, though they treated their plan for annihilation of the Jews as a state secret of the highest order, also kept scrupulous records of deportation and gassings, which also serve as a vital source of data.
This is actually true. I know the company IBM. Do you know IBM?
Yeah.
They were involved in making the system that the Germans used to catalog and keep track of the Jewish people. So it was highly efficient, right?
Hmm. Census. Like, yeah, so, okay. So one of the earliest researchers, Raoul Hilberg, came up with a figure of 5.1 million in his 1961 classic, The Destruction of European Jews. In the third edition from 1985, he provides a lengthy appendix explaining how he calculated the estimates. All right. Lucy Diodowicz, in her The War Against the Jews, 1975, used pre-war birth and death records to come up with a more precise figure of 5,933,900. And one of the more authoritative German scholars of the subject, Wolfgang Benz, offered a range of 5.3 million to 6.2 million. Each used his or her own method to arrive at the totals. Yad Vashem itself also had its names database, an ongoing project in which it attempts to collect the names of every Jewish victims of the Nazis. It relies on testimony from family and friends of those who perished, official archives from the period, and local commemoration projects. As of early of 2012, Yad Vashem estimated that the database contains the names of a little over 4 million different individuals. An exact number is not yet possible because it believes that some hundreds of thousands of people appeared in multiple records. Okay. Beyond comprehension. So one of the largest sources of uncertainty concerns the number of Jews murdered in the Soviet Union, whereas the Jews of the countries of Europe occupied by the Germans were for the most part deported to death camps. Carl went bye-bye. It's all right, but I'll wait till he comes back. I hope Gwen Stefani's gone. Gwen Stefani's being a bitch, writing all this trash. Is that still up? I mean, see, this is the first time I come across someone fucking saying all that shit in my chat, and I don't know if I could just delete that shit. Let me see. And if it's still there, I apologize. Give me a second. Delete. Oh yeah, so it looks all gone, right? Okay, that's all good. All right, well, I'll keep reading. So whereas the Jews countries of Europe occupied by the Germans were for the most part deported to death camps, where fairly good records were kept. The murders in the USSR were carried out by Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing units. Okay. As the German army made its way east. Their records were far less comprehensive, so that is possible only to make a rough estimate of the numbers of Jews killed, generally between 800,000 and 1 million. The overall death and destruction that took place during World War II may well be beyond human comprehension. Historians estimate that military casualties on all sides, in both European and Pacific theaters, reached up to 25 million, and that civilian casualties ranged from 38 million to as high a figure as 55 million. Shit. So meaning that somewhere between 3 and 4% of the world's total population died in the conflict. Okay. Nonetheless, the murders of the Jews of Europe in a class by itself, not because of the numbers, but because of the ideology behind it, which placed the elimination of entire people and their culture from the earth as one of its primary goals. It was unique because the Nazi propaganda focused so intently on the Jews as an almost supernatural cause of evil. And the German war machine remained devoted to killing Jews up to the very last day of the war, long after it was clear that the war was lost. This is to say, murdering the Jews was an end itself. How's it going, bro? He's back.
Okay,
Yow.
back.
He's back.
I think I'm having my feed cut.
Is it Carbone? He's supposed to be here today, or is it the Mossad or something like that? So Jews was an end in and of itself, sort of killing the Jews, and it was used to motivate the German nation to great sacrifices of his own. That being said, there were other groups of people that were singled out by Nazi eliminationist ideology. Most notable among were the Roma or the Gypsies, with estimates of number killing ranging from 90,000 to 1.5 million. Wow, that's a big discrepancy. One reason one reason estimates vary so widely is attributed to the traditional secrecy and silence among the Roma regarding what they endured. Proportionally, these numbers are as high or higher than the fraction of the Jews who were killed, but it was the nomadic way of life. Did he get fucking kicked again? That's fine. Rather than the racial background, which was Aryan, that made them enemies of the regime. And indeed, by late 1943, Nazi policies centered upon sedentary nomadic gypsies, and declared these Roma who had settled in a single place to be considered like citizens of that place.
I don't know what is happening over here on my end.
They don't like you, bro. Someone's watching.
Never.
Whatever. We're almost done, I guess. So I mean, it's not like this happened this entire time.
Whew.
6 million is not and has never intended to be a precise accounting, Chris. It'd be funny if it said that, Chris. But the number, which has now been part of the public consciousness for more than 50 years, would never have continued to be cited if it didn't mirror the scholarly tallies that have followed in the succeeding decades and confirm that rough figure. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you have like
multiple sources,
you round up
kind of saying, yeah.
when you round up and shit, and you use your just when you estimate 6 million seems to be like the number that you can use if you want to use a number.
6 is like a good estimate.
And again, yeah, that's not to say that even that's fucked up. If you want to just use, I mean, 6 million is more truthful, I guess. But then if you want to be just too specific, then you can say maybe 4 million in the camps.
And they also say 4 and 2, yeah, right?
Yeah.
4 in the camps, 2 in other means, all this kind of stuff. So there is some.
Because I know, yeah, the cookie joke for Nick Fuentes has to do with like the 6 million. If you bake 6 million cookies in a certain amount of hours, well, what if they're all?
Which is something that Chris also echoed, right? When he said like it would take 58 years or something like that to, you know.
But it's like, what if your batch of cookies? What if your dough is going bad? Like, what if that's going? You know, that's basically what it is. Where like some of your population is just dying and fucking diseased and shit.
And when the people are starving and you don't care about like squeezing them into the fucking room together. I mean, like you could stack way more. Like they calculated out by like, oh, a person would only have this much space. It's like they didn't care how much space you had. They fucking stack you.
You think they went there and they said, spread your odds out. Let's say, make sure you have room.
Make sure you got enough social distancing room.
Yeah.
No.
So I think that's. Do you have anything else? You think? I think that's all we have. There's that store thing. There's this.
Was there anything else?
There is. Oh, well, this is your thing.
Email. What else did I put in there?
Guardian, Black Athletes. Oh, this.
Oh yeah, let's go through that.
As March Madness rolls on.
So let's go through the Black Athletes. So as March Madness rolls on, so will the myth of Black athletic superiority.
Not to toot my own horn, but growing up, I was quite the athlete. Who are you, Reagan? I want to look you up now. Not toot my own horn.
Reagan Griffin Jr.
Reagan Griffin Jr. I won't be able to find this guy. Whatever. Growing up, I was quite the athlete. When the time came to select teams for dodgeball, what a fucking loser, or relay races, I'm sorry I'm being hard on this guy. I was often among those picked first myself and many of my other black friends. Oh, so he's black. In most of the schools I attended throughout my childhood, my classmates tended to be a healthy mix of all races, but at every stop I found that black students consistently dominated the playground. It didn't take long for our young, naive minds to hypothesize it must have been genes, right? They were clear patterns, and the most obvious explanation for athletic success, at least to our adolescent reasoning, was that black kids were simply built for it. The white kids believed it. The black kids believed it. Hell, even I believed it for a while. I was young and dumb. Fortunately, I have since matured. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for everyone. These groundless theories have transcended the schoolhouse, making their way to the mainstream. This week, as some of the most gifted college basketball players compete in the latter stages of the NCAA tournaments, we're likely to hear many of the same tried old tropes from analysts and announcers referencing the inherent physicality of some of America's best black athletes. Many people ascribe to the same sort of logic that my peers and I possess in elementary school, but on a much larger scale. If black people are so heavily dominate football and basketball, well, they must be built differently than the rest of us, right? That's what they're saying. So in 2020, journalist John Entine wrote on the concept, publishing his infamous book, Taboo, Why Black Athletes Dominate Sports and Why We're Afraid to Talk About It. Over more than 300 pages, Entine defended the same idea that my classmates and I had devised. Black people simply possess an inherent physical advantage for athletic competition. Check the NBA statistics, Entine wrote. Not one white player has finished among the top scorers or rebounders in recent years. White running backs, cornerbacks, wide receivers in the NFL, count them on one hand. To call this flimsy logic would be an understatement. This is an egregiously, laughably, irresponsibly asinine line of thinking, he says. However, it isn't uncommon. While everyone is not as willing to be as openly ignorant as Entine was, if one listens to the manner in which black athletes are discussed today, they will find traces of the same prejudiced ideology. Many studies have been conducted on the topic, including University of Georgia professor Daniel Buffington's, which found that observers of basketball are likely to recognize a black player's strength, speed, and athleticism before other traits such as leadership and IQ. From LeBron James to Lamar Jackson to Serena Williams, black athletes are lauded for their perceived natural physical abilities far more than their intellect and diligence.
Now, this part, I would kind of be like, well, they are athletes. Like, to me, it doesn't even matter if they're black or not. Like, I'm not looking to any athlete for their intellect. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
get
trying
this
to pick
part.
somebody out for intellect. I don't look at the athletes.
Yeah, no.
Okay? Even in high school, you look at the jocks for people who are intellectual. No, that's just stupid.
Yeah, I don't get this part. A recurring theme for this perception of the black body. Elite black athletes are freaks in nature and athletic specimens, rather than the product of years of blood, sweat, and tears put into their respective crafts. Yeah, well, I mean, if some people... Okay, well, yeah, that's true. There's some... I mean, it's all into training, obviously.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, if there's a freak in nature that's a white guy, people will acknowledge that, for sure. So we'll even go as far as to attribute the dominance of black athletes to atrocities of slavery. If your schooling was anything like most of the U.S., in the U.S., you were taught about the evils of America's original sin for about 30 seconds. Oh, 30 seconds. I don't know. I was Canada, boys.
Yeah.
If you
we
got
also don't get taught a lot about like our
native
history with residential schools and
now I think it's better. Like now, yes, we didn't.
Yeah, well, I think the new Alberta curriculum did mention a lot of things. Yeah, so
yeah,
that's what I know. But.
Yeah.
So if you got the notes down quick enough, you learned that plantation owners would force the biggest, tallest, and strongest of the enslaved to have sex in an effort to produce future generations of free labor. One of the most despicable transgressions of a deplorable period in American history, the genetic manipulation of black bodies by white slave owners, is wrongfully understood by many to be a major contributing factor in the athletic dominance of African Americans today. Chris Rock even had a pretty funny bit about it in his 2004 stand-up comedy special, Never Scared.
He also had a bit. He also had a
What's
bit
that?
that compared. Yeah, I saw it another bit. I don't know. I'm not sure if they want to mention that one where he compares black people to the N words.
Yeah.
You know, he says like,
So, jokes aside, this is also as ridiculous a notion, beyond the fact that it feels like a blatant injustice to even attempt to grasp at any sort of positive consequence from this brutal infringement upon human rights. The claim that ancestral breeding is the primary source of black athletic superiority is unsubstantiated by both history and science. According to a study conducted by Oregon State zoologist Joseph Uyeda, lasting evolutionary changes in a population require around 1 million years to occur. Even if we assume that the forced reproduction of the enslaved was rampant in America long before the 1808 closing of the transatlantic slave trade, which significantly increased the demand for a self-sustaining enslaved population, the 400 years in which slavery existed in the United States is nowhere near enough time to produce drastic results in today's African American population. Now, one thing I'll say is evolution does take millions of years. You could do it in a few thousand years if you did natural selection, right? Like, think of dogs, for example. All the dog breeds that we've come up with, these didn't take millions of years to develop. These took tens of thousands of years to kind of get through. So you can drastically make changes like that within a few thousand years. Doesn't necessarily take millions, but hundreds, that's a little bit quick.
so if it's not inherent, what is the reason for the perceived black athletic superiority? All right. So firstly, it is important not to overstate the presence of black people in sports as a whole. This perceived dominance, black athletes make up roughly 41% of the rosters in 5 major American sports leagues. While it is true that black athletes make up the majority of more popular professional sports such as football and basketball, when one takes into account of the demographics of baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, tennis, gymnastics, and other professional sports, it becomes increasingly evident that what black people actually dominate are sports that they have access to.
Right. Basketball, football, the ones that are like really big in high school and that can lead to people getting like huge grants or, like they can get a lot of money out of this stuff, right?
Yeah, and then I
Whereas
guess.
like a lot of schools don't have a hockey team,
Well, okay, so but yeah, hockey.
you know?
Like that's a winter thing. That's another thing.
Yeah, but also like soccer's not big in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
And that's something that you do see. You do see some, like there are a lot of black people in soccer, but there are a lot of white people. There are a lot of Hispanic people.
Okay,
like
but does that really prove anything? Because if they're dominating all the sports that they have access to, if they had access to these other sports, who's to say that they wouldn't dominate
No,
those
because
as well?
the thing is that they are in those other sports, right? It's
Well,
just
yeah, but
that
I mean,
they don't, like especially in other nations, right? Like outside of America.
Yeah.
If you look at like European people who live black people who live in like European countries or in South America or something like that, they have a lot more access to soccer, but they don't dominate the sport of soccer.
I guess.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess so. What is the population, black population in these European countries? I don't know. These things I don't know enough about. But I guess that makes sense. Baseball. Also, baseball. I don't. There's a lot of these.
Yeah, baseball they don't dominate.
But like this is also like a.
They only dominate like a couple of sports.
But the
and
sports
we
they
think that
like.
dominate. What?
The sports they like. I don't see like.
You think black people all like basketball and football?
Of course not, but on a general scale, not universally, but generally, yeah, they prefer it.
It's just because it's the ones that people around them like.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with like inherent ability. In
I never
sports
said
or
that.
anything like that.
I never said that.
Yeah, I'm just saying like it has absolutely nothing to do with like inherent ability in sport, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not more athletic in it. There's nothing to prove that they're more athletic. Is the thing that we're getting at here.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. That the fact that they're not in these sports, like it's not. Okay, so let's keep reading though.
But like baseball is America's pastime, right? They could easily be in baseball if they wanted to, but baseball actually and hockey are expensive sports by comparison to something like
Football.
like basketball. Football can get expensive too with all
Yeah,
the
but
pads and shit like that.
But aren't they super represented in see football?
Yeah, football can get expensive. So
I don't know. It's just seemed like baseball. Maybe they just don't. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows why they're not? Maybe they're worse. Maybe they are worse.
what's that?
Maybe they are worse at basketball. Hockey. I mean, hockey. I feel like that's an easy one. Like no one
But
likes
this is
hockey.
the thing is that they don't have innate like better athletics. Like white people are better at the sports that they do more, right? Like more white people play hockey and or in baseball. You can agree with that, right?
I guess, but there's also
And
a
white people
way more.
dominate. White people dominate hockey like a
There's
lot.
way more white people that play hockey. Way more people that
But
want to
why?
play because of way more white people like in the West.
But why aren't there way more white people playing basketball and football then?
Because we suck at it.
Why?
I don't know. We play less of it. Like basketball,
Right.
there's a culture
It's
within
literally
this.
just a self-fulfilling thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
we play less of it, so we're not as good, and then we play less,
Yeah.
and then we're not as good. So it's like your parents played less, so you're less likely to start off as the kid playing the game,
Yeah,
and then you know what I mean. And when you play as a kid, those are the kids who are gonna grow up to be really good.
exactly. I don't think it's an inherent thing, but I think there's maybe a reality to that. Like black people like these. Yeah, there's like that's
They
why
play
they're.
them more, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But that's the only thing. They're not like I'm saying. They're not inherently more athletic. Like if they played
Of
more
course.
baseball, it doesn't mean that they would dominate the baseball game.
No.
And
Well,
it doesn't mean that a
doesn't
white
mean.
guy who plays a lot of football or a white guy who plays a lot of basketball doesn't make it to the top because they do.
Of course.
There are
Of
just
course.
fewer of them
Of course.
that like do that, right? So it's it's a cultural thing more than it
It's
is
all
like any
cultural.
type. Yeah.
It's all cultural. Yeah, because I mean, if let's say you have a white neighborhood where it's just all like it's just white people. Let's say we have this fucking ethno state, all white people, and they all they watch is basketball. They play as basketball. Well, you're gonna have some freaks and like a bunch of those people. Well, if you have a tournament, you know they could beat an all black team. You know that's obviously.
Easy. Yeah.
Um,
You
Yeah,
can
so-
you can tell that that's the truth because, like, early on, black people were excluded from the game, and when they first let black people like play, it's not like black people
Yeah.
immediately dominated the sport.
Exactly. No, it's just like so because that's the thing is like there's something to the like I mean there's this reality that there are more people in football and basketball, but then there's people I guess
Yeah,
like Chris
that's
Sky
it though. But that
that
doesn't
would
mean,
go that
like,
it's inherent. Well, nothing.
and it doesn't mean that they're more athletic as a people. Like it doesn't mean like black people have better athletic genes than white people.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's
I
not
don't,
what that
like,
means. That just
yeah,
means culturally they like these sports more. It's just like how Indian
use the word
people
genes
fucking
is fucked up.
dominate cricket.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
Why do
that's
Indian
exactly.
people dominate
That's the
cricket?
perfect
Are
thing.
they inherently more cricket based than people? No, it's just the culture that likes fucking cricket.
Yeah. Although I wouldn't. I still don't understand cricket that much, but yeah,
It's like
cricket.
baseball.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
it
a
is
shittier
baseball.
version of baseball.
But yeah, that's a perfect example. Indians fucking with cricket and shit. But yeah, so that's the thing is this inherent thing is fucked up. Often understated is the people of youth sports that are the financial barriers to access. Yeah, like for me, hockey. My parents were really happy that I
Hockey
did.
is really expensive, dude.
My parents were really happy that I was not interested in hockey. They went,
that
oh
hockey
my
wasn't
god!
the sport. Yeah,
Shit.
because all the fucking tournaments you gotta travel around for.
I always
the
thought that was
gear,
fucked up, dude.
The training camps.
Training.
Like, all
They don't
of
even
this
care
shit,
too.
dude.
Like kids would go I would be in class and then every like Friday or every day every week there would be one day of the week where the hockey kids come up and they skip all school because they have to go to a tournament. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I would have hated that. But I mean, I would have liked leaving school early, but I mean, I would have hated just always being on the go on the road for a hockey tournament. Anyways, it was my thing. Even beyond dollars and cents, however, this idea of opportunity is the true explanation of the preeminence of the black athlete. At this point, it should be no secret that black people in this country have limited access to the so-called American dream. That is the idea that any person from any background can make it to the top through daily microaggressions, a word I love, through popular media, even through our education system. Black people are conditioned to temper our aspirations, to expect less out of life than our white counterparts. Black kids in this country are taught by society to believe that they, simply because of the color of their skin, have limited option. Yeah, well, I'm not doing the teaching. It sounds like a lot of people on your own side is like, this is this here. I mean, there's a certain sect of people. Let's just say there's a certain sect of people that are actually doing this.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also like the way that like police acts with you and shit like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. The fact that because of centuries of injustice towards African American communities, many black kids grow up believing that their means of a real upward ascension are significantly narrower than that of a white kid. Therefore, it only makes sense that we should or would see such a large population of black children with a burning desire to become professional athletes. Yeah, that's a big part of it. There's like,
Yeah.
And
Many
they have a
see
lot of...
sports is the only way out of the road, right? This is what they're saying. Many see sports as the only way out, the only road to making something of themselves, especially some of these kids from like very disadvantaged backgrounds, right? Like bad neighborhoods. You're full of surrounded by gangs, and you think, how do I make it out?
And then like it's again another perpetual cycle where it's like, well, okay, so you have these kids who grow up to be LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and stuff, and they inspire other people.
Inspire other kids to go and play more, and this is a self-fulfilling cycle.
Yeah.
It's not like an inherent thing. So I think we can leave it there.
We can leave it there.
I think that's pretty much the case, like we said, with most of these things that we've gone through at this point. Is I think we've disabused people of most of the notions that people like Chris seem to believe. Like I would say one, he is denying the Holocaust.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, he is denying the Holocaust by saying it's all a lie.
Yeah.
So there's that. And two, I would say he also has some beliefs that I would call racist. He does believe in a lot of these tropes that are out there, that like Africans are uncivilized, that IQ is inherent, that which is something else we can go through, but I think we've gone through it pretty well. IQ is more cultural, and it a lot of the times, even in one population, can change depending on if you're like in war or if you're in a drought or if you have enough food or whatever. The same population can have like drastically lower or higher scores on an IQ test. So it's really not necessarily a measurement of intelligence, of inherent intelligence again.
And then other things is like things that aren't their fault. Like this is an aside that just popped in my brain, but it really stuck to me. Is like who did this? The Bangladeshi, was it where there was this?
Are you talking about the brain drain?
Brain drain, where at some point
what happened was when the English left the continent, the subcontinent that was India. They created two countries, right? Split into three regions, though. There was India, and then Bangladesh, which was
Pakistan that did that, right?
East Pakistan.
Yeah.
And then there was West Pakistan, right? And then what happened is East Pakistan had their own culture because it's Bangladesh and it's fucking real far away. So they had their own culture, and the Western Pakistan wanted to implement Western Pakistani culture. So what they did is they literally like killed everybody who had like any sense of education, that kind of stuff.
And then since then they've had
nobody, because who's going to educate you, right?
Exactly.
Because what happens when I kill your entire educated population, then it becomes, well, who's there to educate anyone, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that does keep a lot of these countries down is for us to really benefit from skilled immigration, right? Highly skilled immigration, highly specified immigration. So it's like there are a lot of benefits for us, right? When it comes to saying like, hey, when we immigrate people, they should only be highly skilled or, very well trained or extremely intelligent, right? These are things that we would want. But what happens then is that we here, you can make a lot more money here than in those other nations like Bangladesh and that kind of stuff, right? So this is another way that the brain drain happens, is that these, like, all the smart people, all the people with money, everybody who has like a good position in society leaves those countries to come here, and leaves those countries less educated, you know, with less money, less opportunity. So a lot of this, the way that we do immigration also perpetuates this kind of brain drain.
Yeah.
So we do need to reestablish our immigration policies in order to kind of like better that system, right? We don't want to necessarily incentivize every skilled person who can earn money to leave all the poor countries, right?
Yeah.
You want to stay there and make your country better.
Exactly.
So we need to like incentivize them in that way.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was a big part I wanted to say, is like yeah, this IQ thing can have a basis of reality in terms of differences, and but there's bigger reasons for that. It's like, if you want to talk about this,
historical reasons, cultural reasons, environmental reasons. It's not IQ has been debunked as a proper measurement of like baseline intelligence for people. So I would suggest that Chris watch this video. I would suggest that he do a lot more research. A lot of times he doesn't come off to me as like a necessarily a hateful person. Although we have heard that, you know, he has kind of that side from certain people. And so I would hope that he is open to changing his mind on these tropes that he believes and these misconceptions that he has. I suggest research, obviously study history, and you know, try to see, you know, maybe more than one way of looking at things.
Yeah, and as for Mr. Rob Carbone, I'll see you.
He's coming on Sunday.
We'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll have the exclusive prior to Rebel coming on, and yeah, so Carbone will be on. Chris Sky has an open invitation to come and discuss these things that we brought up today, because I don't like to obviously paint somebody in a light that doesn't properly reflect them. So come and speak for yourself. Give you the opportunity on Twitter that you can respond to my messages at any time. I hope you'll take me up on this, and I hope that, you know, maybe we can kind of change a little bit so that make this movement a lot more positive. Because right now, the way that you're coming out makes me think that you know, you shouldn't be the leader of any kind of movement.
Yeah, I guess you have to be a leader of a movement like this. But that does it. I thought it was going to be a much shorter stream than what we did, but there was a lot more to get into. It was very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of details that I wanted to debunk there, just because I don't like that kind of thinking. That's it.
Yeah. If anybody out here wants to,
I would call what he has a colonialist mindset.
that's true. And for those of you who think we're racist, think again, bro. This is good proof. And Gwen,
societal construct.
it is. And then Gwen Stefani in the chat. Well, that would be an example of.
Yeah, Gwen Stefani and Richard Stallman. You guys are.
Yo, you know what? I went in. Those are all different accounts. It was all fucking different accounts. That's why I kept going. I had to ban all of them. So.
Well, anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, you know, share the video, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Actually, yeah, Sunday. Maybe a surprise before that. Peace.
Here comes the door. You're gonna ban us for hate speech. You're gonna ban us for hate speech. Here comes the door. You're gonna ban us for hate speech. You're gonna ban us for hate speech. Chance of